Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the adjustable DSSRs, getting into details about frequently asked questions, installation, and adjustment, and all kinds of cool stuff. Let's get started. So first, a little bit about these products. We have a single adjustable version and a double hex adjustable version. Now, depending on how much adjustment you need in certain clearance issues, you can pick from either one of them, but sometimes your application will dictate whether you need a single adjustable or double adjustable. Now, both of these will offer the same bigger side, and that's basically going to always be on the transmission side. And then it's the other side, which is the transmission side, which could vary. Single adjustable units have a smaller fork. Double adjustable have a fork that looks very similar to the other end. These adjustable DSSRs offer precision shoulder bolts, which will actually fit into your shifter or your transmission side selector joint. If you're using our variation, there's a bearing in there, so that makes it very, very incredibly precise and tight for no side-to-side play. And on top of that, unlike the factory shifter assembly, you don't have to try to put a pin in and try to push another clip on there. So you just need one tool and you'll be able to tighten those things. And because those forks have a little bit of flex in them, you can actually tighten it so that it actually squeezes on there just the right amount so that you don't have any play on there, but it doesn't bind as well. These also offer shoulder pins that go all the way through, so you can make sure that your DSSR is 100% level and square, and a lot of added strength. And they offer double adjustment for a coarse adjustment and a fine adjustment, and that feature can be both found in the single hex adjustment and double hex adjustment. So now that we've talked about the features, let's get into the adjustment. The principle that I'm about to go over is actually the same whether you have a single adjustable unit or a double adjustable unit. As you can see from the single adjustable unit, one side is stationary and this side is the one that has all the adjustment. It's the same principle on the double, you just have two of them. That's pretty much it. As you can see in the 3D model blown up, there's actually a slot going through both of the rods, and that's where you can basically then align the pin once you've aligned it. That keeps it square and allows for adjustment. So you're definitely going to want to get this adjusted before you put it in the car, or at least put it in the range before you put it in the car. It'll make it considerably easier to do it. So what you're going to end up doing is first adjusting from one side, okay? And then adjusting both of them and just get it in the right range. If you have a factory selector joint and that's kind of the range that you want to put it in, I would compare it with the factory selector joint and then adjust it. And as you can see, you can basically adjust it by turning this threaded portion, and you can see that there's actually like a fine adjustment and a coarse adjustment right here. So there's a very large thread on the outside and another thread on the inside like that. So you can see this thing can actually go pretty far in that range, but the slots keep it in a safe range so you can't overextend it, and it also makes sure that it's straight and that it's square. What you'll then want to do is, it's off the car and both sides are loose, right? So this one has a bolt in it. You'd remove both pins. So there's like a shoulder pin in there and an Allen key. You're basically gonna get the range that you wanna get, right? So I'm gonna start fine tuning. And you can kind of see inside there when their adjustability, runs out. So you can see it, when you're actually clocking it, it's actually registering right there. And then the shoulder in here then can align with that. So you can kind of see that's now the inner one moving right there. So once you have it set to kind of where you want it, I recommend is you take this pin and you then push it in here, okay? Sometimes if it's not clocked perfectly, it's gonna fight you. You could hammer it a little bit, but I kind of like to peep the pin in there where it's just a little bit in there right here, right? That way you can at least mock it up on the car, right? So it's super loose, everything kind of rotates right now, but at least you're like, okay, that works, because then at least it's not a big deal for you to make a quick adjustment. You just pull the pin out, you're like, oh, I want it a little bit shorter, I want a little bit longer, okay, great. You could then have the luxury of then fine tuning, one or two turns if you wanted, and then same thing, putting in the pin, right? Go in the car, mocking it up. Once you have it where you want it, that's when you're then gonna tighten these. And how you tighten them is, you're gonna push the pin in, and it's okay to hammer those things in there. If it's a tight fit, it's supposed to be a tight fit. So when you actually just tap that in like that, some pins are gonna go harder than others, nothing to worry about. You can see that it's nice and flush right here. And then on the other side, you then would insert the hex screw right here. So then you start to tighten it, just like that. Get it started by hand, right? And you take your wrench here, and you start to tighten it. And then once it starts to rotate, hold it with the Phillips and tighten it. The whole idea behind this is to keep it true, but also you'll see that it's got a slot on both ends, and it's gonna start to squeeze and clamp on those threads, so that way it doesn't have any movement. So even right now, I barely snugged it, and it already doesn't wanna move. So these are incredibly strong. You can tighten them down, they'll be okay. And the idea is then it will not come loose and keep it straight. You would then do that same tightening on the other side. The tightening process is the same on both sides. You can put blue Loctite inside there. That sometimes will help with it not backing out and stuff like that. So there you have it. Now, let's just say you do a motor swap, right? And you want to undo this, right? Now, if you want to readjust it, you're going to basically then just remove the pin. And this can be done on the car. It's going to be a little bit difficult. I highly recommend removing it, but it can be done on the car. So I'm going to now remove the pin. And now, you got to basically try to remove that pin. So what I usually do is take that screw and just thread it in a little bit. Just barely like that. And then you can either hammer it or literally hit it on the side of a table to get it out. And you can see it kind of knocked that other side out. And now I'm going to remove this. And now this will come out. Sometimes you just need to give it a little bit of help by pulling it here and pulling the pin out, just like that. Then you make your adjustment again, just like as you did before. Going to your new motor swap position, new shifter position, whatever you want. Same principle. Putting the pin in, getting it started, hammering it, put the pin in, tighten, and you're set. The procedure for adjusting the single adjustable unit on one side is literally identical. So the only difference is you don't have both sides to do it on, and the other side has basically a pin in it, and that's basically it. But the principle of how to adjust these is identical. Now that we've gone over that, let's go over how to install these in your car. Here's what the tools look like that you need to get started. So the first step you're going to want to do is safely jack up your car on some jack stands. Make sure it's secure and put it at a height that's comfortable to work. Next step is to remove your factory select rod. To do so, you'll need a flathead screwdriver or pliers to remove the factory clips that connect the selector rod to the selector joint on the transmission and the shifter. Now this would be the ideal time to replace your selector joint with our billet selector joint with bearings. Now you're ready to install your new adjustable DSSR. Make sure you have it already adjusted to the proper length as we shown earlier, and then reconnect to the shifter and selector joint. Now instead of using clips, you're going to be using a 5mm Allen socket to secure the selector joint and shifter. Be sure to use a drop of blue Loctite at the end of the bolt and torque to 20 inch-pounds. Be careful not to over tighten and strip the aluminum threads. Take it for a test drive and see how your new shifter feels. After that, you're done. The reason you have an adjustable DSSR is that for a couple different reasons. You either have a motor swap in your car, or you have a aftermarket shifter. Could be like our Supreme or our solid mount or any of the aftermarket ones. They're always straight instead of angled like the factory. And this angle difference, if you can imagine, is a straight one. Well, that little difference right there is why you would want an adjustable version of it. And they're cool. That's why you want one. Billet 6061 aluminum. You can expect to get about 5 to 25 millimeters of adjustment, and the reason for that range, sometimes it could be more than that, is because of the two versions. You have the double hex adjustable and the single hex adjustable. And in certain bent variations, you're gonna be able to have to get one over the other, and that's why there's a wide range. But it's safe to say 5 to 25 millimeters of adjustment. So yes, there is a slight difference between the fork ends, depending whether it's single adjustable or double adjustable, but you can always look for identification marks on each fork end, which tell you which side goes to shifter, which side goes to transmission. Yes, they are on-car adjustable, but you will have to try to take a pin out and then make your adjustment and put it back in. We highly recommend doing it off the car by dropping one side and actually doing it. So is it? Yes. Would you like to do it? Probably not. Yes, you should use Loctite on the ends when you actually come to tighten those things. Be sure to use the blue Loctite and not the red stuff. You can find out why, but just take our word for it. Use the blue stuff. So the torque specs on these two ends over here are going to be 20 inch-pounds. 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 If you go any further than that, you'll strip them. Don't strip them. Hello, Garagistic. It's stripped. The torque specs on these actual Allens that pinch everything, you can see there's a slot. It'll be around 20 inch-pounds as well, but you can feel free to just compress it. All it's trying to do is actually just pinch it. That's why that slot's in there. It's gonna pinch everything and clamp it. So that one, you know, you can go a little bit higher than that, but not what I did earlier. So we actually pre-assemble with anti-seize, silver anti-seize, and what we do is we actually put them inside. There's threads in here and threads inside here. That usually is enough pre-lubricant, but if you want to put something on there, that's what we would use, silver anti-seize. To find out the correct adjustable DSSR for your application, go to the listing page and click on length calculator, and that will be able to actually tell you, based on your car and most motor swaps and what shifter is in your car, and it will actually be able to calculate it. And of course, you can always call our offices to be able to help you through that. Also, another way of doing it is basically taking a tape measure. Now, you want to try to measure from center to center. Obviously, these are adjustable DSSRs, so you're going to have the range that you need, but at least like that, you can at least have an idea of which one you need. And again, either the length calculator can help you, or giving us a call with this measurement right here, we should be able to help. Another way to find out which length that you need is to measure it on the car. So if you have your existing selector joint, center to center is what you need to get. So you can see that I'm actually getting it centered on the shifter and the selector joint, trying the best to go from center to center. And obviously your shifter has to be in the neutral position when you're actually measuring that. So that's if you have a factory selector joint. Now if you don't, it's a motor swap, it's the same principle. So same thing if you don't have a selector joint. Again, you're just kind of centering that in your shift boot and on your selector joint right there, which yours wouldn't be tired like that because you upgraded to the one that we make with the bearings. Center to center and right there. So in this particular case, a 5-inch would work on here. It's centered on both ends. Obviously, you have some adjustability on our adjustable DSSRs. It'll fit most BMWs, but if you have any concern, feel free to check our application guide online or give us a call. For the most part, it should fit, but there is some weird BMW bent variation stuff like that, but ask us. In most cases, we could actually make it for you. No, this will not work with vibration dampeners because of clearance issues. No, probably not. This current model does not, but keep checking the website because we are going to be adding one. And basically, just so we're talking about the same transmission, that's the one that you need to have that twist. In the future, we'll be able to do that. So just check on the website, call us, email us, nag us, poke us. It'll eventually come out. Yes, this should work in most applications. It's matched to the factory. So if the other aftermarket shifters match the factory geometry, you should be fine. With our superior products, you have no problems. They are absolutely compatible.